Hey everyone, let's just get right into it. Welcome back to our latest explainer, where we take all the noise of the weekly news cycle and just distill it down into a rapid, clear, and completely impartial digest. We're looking at the week's absolute most critical national developments, and we're going to break them down so you can grasp the core facts without any of the fluff. We've got a lot of ground to cover today across four really vital sectors of the country. So here's our roadmap for today. First up, education reforms and tech. Second, judicial vacancies and retirement. Third, an El Niño weather forecast we all need to keep an eye on. And finally, some high-profile legal updates. Let's jump right in.
All right, starting things off with Section 1, Education Reforms and Tech.
So President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has literally just dropped a strict one-month deadline to get a new education reform policy framework totally finalized. The clock is absolutely ticking on that. But while they're drafting all that policy, they aren't just sitting around. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya just announced a massive push to get technology into classrooms right now. The immediate target? 4,000. That's 4,000 schools getting hooked up with smart boards and full connectivity just this year alone. And the whole philosophy behind this rapid tech rollout? Well, the Prime Minister put it perfectly. She said, "We must protect our education despite global crises. We are working with the determination to carry it forward." Because let's be real, while the government is out there trying to recruit more teachers, the students, they just can't afford to wait. This new connectivity is basically a bridge. It's going to link the absolute best teachers over in Colombo straight into rural classrooms. So your zip code doesn't dictate how good your education is. It's a clear message, right? The economy might be struggling, but education, that is definitely not hitting the pause button.
Moving on to Section 2, Judicial Vacancies and Retirement.
There is some real tension brewing in our courts right now. As we speak, there are 8 absolutely critical vacancies sitting open at the highest levels of the judiciary. We're talking 5 empty seats in the Supreme Court and 3 in the Court of Appeal. And these seats haven't just been empty for a few days, it's been months. This is triggering some severe case backlogs that are directly delaying justice for everyday people. And as you know, when institutional delays hit the courts like this, the ripple effect through the entire legal system is massive.
Naturally, this bottleneck is causing some heavy pushback. The opposition, along with the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, have drawn a pretty clear line in the sand with a few major concerns. First off, obviously, backlogs delay justice. Second, they're pointing out that the 20th Amendment already bumped up the total number of judges, which, in their view, makes messing with the retirement age totally necessary. And third, they're arguing that just handing out unplanned service extensions to current judges could seriously damage public trust and judicial independence. Actually, opposition MPs felt so strongly about this that they recently handed a letter straight to the Speaker of Parliament, pushing the president to fill those 8 empty seats immediately through the Constitutional Council. But, let's look at the flip side of this debate for a second. The Minister of Justice recently presented a global perspective to Parliament, and the numbers are super interesting. In places like the UK, Canada, and Brazil, the judicial retirement age is actually 75. Australia is at 70, and in Germany, constitutional court judges retire at 68. So the minister's argument is basically extending the age is standard practice globally. But, and this is a really important caveat, he made it absolutely crystal clear to the House that, despite all this fierce debate, no official cabinet decision has actually been made yet to extend the local retirement age. So for now, the status quo holds, but man, the pressure to resolve those vacancies is still running incredibly high. All right, let's shift gears to Section 3, the El Niño weather forecast.
We really need to keep our eyes on the skies right now because the Met Department just issued some pretty serious warnings regarding our national climate readiness. So right now, we're sitting in a weak El Niño. That's what's been bringing us this decreased rainfall and that unusually crazy heat we felt through September. But things are about to shift right around October and November. The conditions are expected to intensify, which means heavy rain and some really significant flood risks for vulnerable areas. And as we push into December, January, and February of next year, well, a strong El Niño is expected to take full hold. And honestly, the sheer probability here is what's really grabbing attention. The Met Department is predicting a greater than 60% chance of a severe El Niño by early next year. We are talking about conditions that could potentially rival the historic ones we saw post-1950. So a major hit to agriculture and infrastructure is highly possible. In response to this, President AKD has totally stepped up. He's expressed full confidence that we can manage the shock and is already kicking off planning sessions at the Presidential Secretariat. The goal is to make sure every single state agency treats this weather anomaly with the exact same urgency as an economic or regional crisis. Okay, finally, let's get into Section 4, high-profile legal updates. Our first case today involves Shashi Weerawansa. So, the prosecution successfully argued that she forged a birth certificate, specifically altering her birth year from 1967 to 1971, all to illegally obtain a diplomatic passport. Because of this, she was previously sentenced to rigorous imprisonment. Well, just this week, the Colombo High Court officially rejected her appeal, so they are firmly upholding that previous sentence. And lastly, we have the incredibly intense ongoing case of retired Major General Suresh Saleh. He's currently hospitalized after going on a hunger strike while in CID custody, and the perspectives on this are sharply divided. On one hand, the CID argues that Saleh is actively hindering their probe because he's refusing to hand over his mobile phone passwords, and they say that's why his lawyer visits are currently limited to just weekends. But on the exact opposite side, the opposition is claiming that the investigators are politically biased. They argue Saleh is facing unfair pressure to fit a very specific narrative regarding the ongoing Easter attack probes. It's a highly charged standoff right now, with both sides completely holding firm to their versions of the story. Which really just leaves us with one massive overarching question. How are these intertwined challenges going to shape the nation's trajectory in the coming months? Think about it, from a one-month deadline to totally digitally overhaul education, to a high-stakes standoff over our highest courts, from a 60% chance of some potentially historic weather anomalies to these deeply polarizing legal battles. When you take all these facts and look at how they connect, you really have to ask yourself, how prepared are we for the cascading effects? Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will catch you next time.